All right, gentlemen. Some of you had some questions on the classwork from today, April 28th. So just two things, right? One, I made two corrections. Number two now should be 300, and number three should be 780, and that's so that they become a 30, 60, 90, or 45, 45, 90 triangle. Apologize for the typos there. And then there's the last one, right? So I'm just going to do two examples just to kind of show how I would do two different examples, and then you can kind of look back to this classwork. Most of these, if you notice, they all end in a 0. So it's probably going to be 30, 60, 90, not a 45, 45, 90. But if we look here, okay, so let's just say I make up an angle measure 495. So I know right off the bat that's got to be, that's at least one time around. Right, so I'm at least going one time around. I want to know how much more. So I'm going to say minus 360, 5, 135. So now I know I go an extra 135. So I'm somewhere over here. And here's my angle. Alright, so here is my initial side. And then I'm somewhere over here. Right? And I knew I had to subtract 360 because 495 is more than 360. So I subtract that. So I know, alright, it's one lap around. And then it's 135. So this right here is 135 degrees. The whole thing, right, going around twice, that is 495, right? But they're just coterminals. It doesn't really change the answer. All right, so now I need to find my reference angle. That's to get to the x-axis. So this is my reference angle. And in order to get up to 180 degrees, this has to be 45. Okay, so now I know I've basically created a 45, 45, 90. I'm going to draw this. Okay, so now I have my little right triangle. If we remember what a 45, 45, 90 triangle is, the ratios, it is, so this is 45. It's a right isosceles. This is 1, this is 1, this is radical 2. So, although I don't have any dimensions for this or dimensions for this, I do know what my ratio is going to be for all of my sine, cosine, tangent, all my trig functions based on this reference angle, which we said was 45 degrees. So basically what I'm doing is, right, so first I found my reference angle, and now I need sine, cosine, tangent of that reference angle of the 45. Cosecant, secant, change that to 45, cotangent 45. Okay, so change this, and 45. All right, so I'm doing everything on a 45 as my theta, because one lap around plus this much, my reference angle is 45 degrees. All right, now based on those ratios we should have memorized, sine would be opposite over hypotenuse. So here's my opposite, and there's my hypotenuse. Opposite hypotenuse, 1 divided by radical 2. Cosine, adjacent, and hypotenuse. So that's the same, 1 over radical 2. Tangent, opposite over adjacent, so that's 1 over 1. Okay, and then cos, these are all just a flip. So this is radical 2 over 1, radical 2 over 1, and 1. Nice simple answer here. Now, how do you know which positive and negative? Well, this is in quadrant 2. All students take calculus, so that means these are positive and these are negative. Right? That's based on which quadrant you're in. So that means this is positive, negative, negative, positive, negative, negative. And there we go. There's our answer there. Okay, so that's one with the 45, 45, 90. Kind of easy because sine and cosine basically end up being the same except for their sign, and tangent's just 1. Nice and simple. Okay, let's look at another one. Negative 510. So now I know I'm going clockwise. I'm going the opposite way. So I'm starting here. I know it's a full lap around, right? So essentially like I'm adding 360, but I want to see, how much after I do a full lap. So this, 5, and negative 150. Okay, so I'm going clockwise, a full lap. Okay, 150 is not quite there, but it's somewhere over there. So it's a full lap and then plus almost up to 180 from like the upside down way. Here's my initial side, and there's my other terminal side. Okay, so this amount, I'll change that back, keep it consistent with the one above. This amount right here is negative 150 degrees. The little circle that goes all the way around, that's negative 510, right? But they're coterminal. It starts and ends in the same. You're just going another full lap to start. Okay, so now that I have that, I need to get back to the x-axis. What is my reference angle there? There's my theta reference. Well, if that's 150, how much do I need to get up to 180? I would need 30 degrees. It's technically a negative 30, right? But we'll just say 30 degrees. And here is my right triangle I just made. Right, and there's that. Okay, so now I need to know my 30, 60, 90. Right, so if I say this is 30, this is 60, and this is a right angle. Right, that means this side opposite the 30 is 1, side opposite the 60 is radical 3, and this is 2. Right, so a lot of times I just write that down on the top of my test or my paper. Okay, so now we're doing everything from the point of view of this angle. The 30 is my reference angle. Right, we're a little upside down here, but we're doing the same thing. It's all based on what I'm across from. So my sine of 30, cosine of 30, tangent of 30, reciprocal, cosecant of 30, secant of 30, and cotangent of 30. Right? I know it's going to be positive or negative based on what quadrant it's in, so I'm just going to kind of compute everything with it being 30, and then I'll look at the signs later. Okay, sine is 1 over 2, so sine of 30 is 1/2. Sine of, and then cosine is radical 3 over 2. Here's my radical 3, here's my 2, all based on the 30. Tangent is 1 over radical 3, opposite and adjacent. I obviously can just flip these, 2 over 1, 2 over radical 3, and radical 3 over 1. I'm in quadrant 3, so all students take calculus. Tangent's the only one that's positive, and the rest of these are negative. So I can just slide these over a little bit and just put my appropriate signs. Minus, minus, plus, minus, minus, plus. And there's my answer for the second one. Okay, I hope this helps clear a little bit of that up. Right, so we're using the all students take calculus thing to understand what is positive in which quadrant. That was a video from the previous class, 3.3. And we were kind of doing a little bit of this with when we knew a point on the terminal line, the terminal side, and now we're doing it if I just know the angle measure. It's going to give you either a 30, 60, 90 or a 45, 45, 90. You know, get rid of your coterminal, and then you just have your little triangles memorized, and you just make sure that you have your correct ratios based on that angle, the reference angle measure. Then I figure out if it's positive or negative afterwards. All right, so I hope this helped a little bit. If you have any questions, you can email me. Good luck.